What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman. Fun show coming up for you guys. We're going to be talking about the latest on a Zach LaVine trade, as why I think the San Antonio Spurs could actually be a perfect fit for LaVine this offseason. And also, I just want to give you guys more thoughts on Matas Buzelis, as I think the Chicago Bulls absolutely hit a home run with the 11th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. But I do want to show you guys this photo before we dive into it. The young Bulls, I think the youth movement is finally here. All five of these guys are under the age of 24 years old, and Kobe White and Ayo are the veterans of that group, but Patrick Williams, 22, Josh Giddey, 21, and Buzelis, still 19 years. Hopefully the youth movement is finally here in Chicago, so let's welcome Matas Buzelis to the Chicago Bulls. Type his initials down in the comment section. Give me an MB down below, as the hometown kid is going to play with the team that he grew up watching. Absolutely loved his reaction after he was drafted. So welcome him to Chicago and type those MBs. But Chris Haynes did have an interesting quote before the draft got underway yesterday. Just talking about DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, and this is what he said. He said, "I'm told there's no talks at this moment on the extension." Talking about DeMar DeRozan, but then he said the Bulls are trying to find a spot for Zach LaVine. I'll tell you who I think that team is here in a second. But, I think the Bulls choosing Buzelis over Connect, shows they're embracing this youth movement. People are freaking out as, I think when that pick was coming along, I think the fan base was split in half, where half of us wanted Connect, half of us wanted Buzelis. And I think the Bulls made the right choice of taking Buzelis over Connect, as he is younger, has higher upside. And yes, maybe Connect would have stepped in there, year one and been more effective and more productive. But I think Buzelis, in terms of just potential, I think he could be an all-star in the league if he can, live up to that. I never thought Connect had that ceiling. So I was completely okay with it, especially if this is the direction the Bulls are heading. And, it gets me to this. I can't shake the San Antonio Spurs as a team that could trade for Zach LaVine. I have been trying to figure this out. What team? Could it be the Lakers? Could it be the Heat? What one of these, borderline contenders could trade for Zach LaVine? And I can't get over the San Antonio Spurs. And, the trade they performed last night, where they sent Rob Dillingham to the Minnesota Timberwolves with pick 8, and they received 2 future first-round picks, one in 2031 that's unprotected, completely going to them, and then in 2030, a top 1 protected pick swap with Minnesota. So they're, gearing up here. Maybe this is just them thinking about the future, or maybe this is them, thinking about a potential trade, with the Chicago Bulls. But why the Spurs? Why can I not shake the Spurs as a team that could trade for LaVine? Well, number one, I think we just got to start with Zach LaVine's contract, and I think the Spurs are one of the very few teams who, can't afford his deal. And looking at his contract right now, I think this is the biggest kicker right here, the 15% trade bonus. So all these figures, you got to raise them by 15% if he is traded to the San Antonio Spurs, which obviously makes this, a whole lot more challenging. But, with where the Spurs are at, they got a ton of young players. They got Wemby still on his rookie deal. And I've used this comparison countless times here on the channel where, when an NFL team has a rookie quarterback on that rookie deal, we see them go all in and build a very strong, team around him. I could see the Spurs doing the same thing with Wemby on his rookie deal and just, continuously helping his development by getting him a player like LaVine. But they can afford this contract. Obviously, they would not be thrilled of paying LaVine this much. But at the end of this season, Wemby would only be 22 years old still. So I could see them, taking a risk on LaVine's, contract here. But number two, also, Zach LaVine, he's a walking red flag. And, he's got a ton of parts of his game that, people are rightly so critical of him. But the two main red flags are his leadership and his defense. And, I think San Antonio could cover those up. Just talking about leadership, that wouldn't be an issue. He wouldn't be like that vocal leader in the locker room. Yes, he would be the veteran presence, but that's Greg Popovich. That is his team. That is his culture. And I think LaVine would just fit right in. And we heard Pop, after LaVine played for him for Team USA, we actually saw LaVine, pick up 94 feet in the FIBA game. So, I think Pop could, get through the LaVine and, get the most out of him. And then also just defensively. I think he would be, the thing that always bothered me with LaVine is he has the athletic ability to be at least a serviceable point of attack defender on the perimeter. But, you send him to San Antonio, I think Pop could really unlock that part of his game. So in terms of the contract and the red flags, I think the Spurs can cover all that up. And, number 3 for me, they need a scoring guard. I think them taking Castle as potentially their more playmaking, bigger guard who's going to be a really strong defender, like, there is still a need for a scoring guard. And that's why I thought that trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves was so interesting, where they had a chance to take Dillingham, they had a chance to take Connect, or even Topic, like to get another guard for Wemby. They decided to push that back. They decided to get more future first-round picks. Maybe in the back of their mind, they knew we could go trade for Zach LaVine, and he could be that elite 3-level scoring guard. And obviously LaVine would be ready to be more impactful right away than a rookie. So I think for those 3 reasons, LaVine makes sense. And then, you know what? You want to help out potentially the best player in the world, down the line, Victor Wembanyama. You want to help out his development. You go get him another good player, around him. And I think, we undervalue that a lot here in the NBA. Is like, you look at like a guy like Cade Cunningham. Yes, he has developed pretty well in Detroit, and I understand that. But if he would have went to like a San Antonio and had a bunch of other good players around him, or whatever team, I think we could have seen him take his development to the next level. And I could see the Spurs thinking the same thing with Wemby. Let's go get another elite player who is a 2-time All-Star. That would just make his life a whole lot easier, because then other teams, when they're just guarding the San Antonio Spurs, it's not like they're going to be double teaming, Stephon Castle. They're going to be, double teaming like a Vassell or whatever it may be. But you would have to give LaVine the attention and the respect he deserves. So I could easily see in the Spurs, as that team that just, it makes sense for them to want LaVine. So what could a trade look like? Well, you throw in Keldon Johnson, get the Bulls another young player. I don't know if the Spurs would be willing to move off him, but then they would just take the protections off next year's first-round pick, give it back to the Bulls for just in case the Bulls are somehow in that purgatory zone again. They can have that first-round pick in 2025 all to themselves. So this trade makes a whole lot of sense for me. Would San Antonio want to do it? I am not too sure. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below, and I would really appreciate it. If you're a Spurs fan coming across this video, if you guys could let me know if this is enough, to get it done to, land Zach LaVine in San Antonio. But give me an A for accept, or give me a D for decline. If you're the Bulls here, you just take this and run. Like, I think if you could, at any means, move off Zach LaVine, that would be a huge win for this offseason. We talked about it. We saw Kobe White and Ayo take those next steps following, Zach LaVine's injury this past season. I could see that being the case for Patrick Williams, even a guy like Buzelis. So if you were able to move off LaVine, you do it. Take it and run. Even if you can't get, the first-round pick for next season, if you could even just get Keldon Johnson, I think that's a good move for Chicago moving forward. Let's talk about Buzelis, because I went back last night after the NBA draft, and I probably watched about 3 hours of his game film. I have just really started to, just fall in love with this prospect. And that was what I said on a video early on this offseason before the NBA draft. I actually said it. I said the more I watch Buzelis, the more I like him. There's actually a clip on Twitter that was going viral of him getting locked up for 2 minutes and people trying to put him down. And, you could go cut up a highlight tape for any player, and you could either make them look like the best player in the world or the worst player in the world. So I wasn't really too concerned about that. But more takeaways I had, he's got elite handle. And I was kind of wrong on this. I said, if he wants to take his game to the next level, improving his handle is huge. But, just watching his game, man, he already kind of has a great handle of the basketball. And in terms of like him as a shot creator, that's where his handle's amazing, especially when he's attacking downhill. When obviously teams in the NBA, they run a lot of drop coverage nowadays. So, when you're coming off that screen, you have that big. He's shown an ability, either just a quick in and out or a quick in and out cross, just an ability to beat that secondary defender. He has that. And just with his size and with his athleticism, like with that elite handle, he could really turn himself to be, hopefully one of the better players on this Bulls team. But I've also noticed this. He needs to get more physical. And it kind of speaks to his frame. He's super slender, but I do think his body type, can allow him to put on good muscle mass on that frame. But even just him playing physically, if he could ever get like a little bump, pull up mid-range, like I think that'll be great for his game. But what does that come with? That just comes with age. It comes on putting more weight on your body, and I think he'll be able to do so. But even just attacking the rim, I would like to see him get more physical. But again, I think that could come, and that's why his negatives I don't think are going to change his direction here in the NBA. I think he could fix those negatives, and if he can do that, he could be a very special player. And, number 3 here, people this is where I get frustrated with, people analyzing the NBA draft, and when they're talking about these prospects, like everybody was saying, oh, he can't shoot. He can't shoot. He shot 27% with the G League. I understand that, but I'm not going to take a 30-game sample size for a 19-year-old playing in some of the worst brand of basketball out there in the world right now and just be like, oh, he can't shoot at all. You look at his jump shot. He's got a really solid base. He's got a great release point. It looks to me like this is just a reps thing for him to become more efficient. It wasn't like a Lonzo Ball situation where he needs to completely change his jump shot going from here to here. I already love his jump shot. It's just a reps thing. And also, for all these draft analysts out there who saying he's a terrible three-point shooter, you literally just looked at his G League Ignite stats and you looked at his G League Ignite tape. How about you go back to his senior year of high school when he shot 44% from downtown and he was the Gatorade Player of the Year? I just kind of get frustrated when I see that because I understand him shooting a low percentage this past year with G League. You automatically think, oh, he can't shoot, but people are just ruling him out as now he's just a 6'8", 6'9" athletic wing. When you go look at his high school tape, this dude's got a freaky good jumper. And, speaking about freaky, he is a freak athlete. That probably should have been my number one takeaway, but he jumps out of the gym, man. And, I love the aggression he has getting to the rim, too. He's a super emotional player. I mean, we saw it even when he got drafted last night. Him and his brother just had, their eyes filled with tears. And, it just really, it fired me up, man. I love to see that. I love to see that passion. I love to see that intensity. And, if you need, it's not like a chip on the shoulder situation, but if you just need any more motivation, to work out and give it your all, like playing for your hometown team, playing for, the team that all of your friends grew up loving, all of your family, they love the Bulls. Like, now you're going to be able to impact, their lives and hopefully contribute to winning. So him being a freak athlete, I mean, it is incredible what he does at 6'8", 6'9". I think that's going to be probably the number one reason why he ends up working out. But number 5 for me, and this is why I like to pick over Dalton Connect. His archetype of being that 6'8", 6'9" athletic wing who you're just hoping he can develop a jumper and he's a plus defender immediately. Those types of players win in the NBA for the same reasons why I want to bring Patrick Williams back. If you just let these guys develop, it will pay off. Yes, you may have to go through the growing pains. You're going to have to go through the challenges of that, but look at what the Boston Celtics are doing. You look at what the New York Knicks are doing, the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. They got wings on the outside who can guard, beat people off the dribble, and shoot. The Bulls are trying to replicate that by drafting Buzelis, by hopefully they retain Patrick Williams and he can develop into that. But just that archetype of player, the 6'8", 6'9" forward who can really do it all, I think those types of guys are going to really win in the league. But you guys let me know this. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Who is your pro comp for Buzelis? I originally said Franz Wagner, and I actually hate that now. I only really saw that because of the way, they navigate pick and rolls. They really play at their own pace, but I couldn't really think of a pro comp for him. But if you guys got one, you guys let me know down in the comments section. And also make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. We'll be keeping you posted with the latest around your Chicago Bulls throughout the entire offseason and free agency starting this Sunday night. So hit that sub button, lock us in. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.